Hi everyone, and welcome to Creative Chelsea. Today I'm excited to be sharing with you my Stampin' Fancy Friday challenge card for March 2022. So in March we were challenged to use the new products found in the mini catalog, and I decided to use the Garden Greenhouse Bundle. You can see here, this is on page 28. You can see the stamp set, and that you can get 10% off right now if you purchase the two together, the stamp sets and the dies. And then this really cute card that they made with it. And I was just really drawn to this stamp set. I love plants and I love the structure of this stamp set. And then you'll notice that down in the dies, they have that same structure as a die cut. And so it's just a really fun one, and I wanted to share with you this cute card that I made using it. If you are new to my channel and want to see more of my videos, click on the subscribe button and then the bell for notifications. I would love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and help you with any of your paper crafting needs. To purchase any of the products you see today, please visit my online store, and the link is in the description below. The first thing I want to do to make this card is the stamping. So the stamp set has some really great plants, which we've kind of already talked about. There's this large one here, and then kind of this smaller leaf plant. We also have kind of like a cactus or succulent down here, and I think these two go together so that you can get some more colors and different shades of green. So I'm going to use this larger image, and we're going to stamp it in two different colors of green. I'm going to start with my lighter color, which is Pear Pizzazz. What I like about this stamp is that you do get some different variations of ink color, so it's not just a solid stamp. I'm then going to take Mossy Meadow, which is a darker green, and with a sponge dauber, I'm going to add a little darker color of green in some of these areas, just to provide a variation of color. So once I've done that, I'm going to stamp it. Nice even pressure all the way around. And then you'll get something that looks like this. And can you see how those different colors of greens are coming through? So I'm going to go ahead and repeat for a second one. Next, I'm going to stamp some of the flowers. If you look back at my original card, we have 4 different flower colors. I've got a yellow, 2 pinks, and then a little bit of an orangey color. So those colors are Melon Mambo, Crushed Curry, Polished Pink, and Calypso Coral. So I'm going to take and stamp each one of the flower shapes that are in the stamp set. So I've got a couple tulip options. I'm not really sure what type of flower that would be, and then kind of a daisy. So this is my Melon Mambo, and I'm going to do kind of this petal tulip in that shape, and I'm going to do 3 of each. Next, I've got Polished Pink, and I'm going to stamp that one of the tulip shapes in Polished Pink. Next, I have Crushed Curry. That's going to be my daisy. And then my last color is Calypso Coral. And that's going to be my other tulip. And you'll have something like this when you're done. And of course, you can stamp all of these images on some scratch paper. You don't need to use a nice large piece of basic white for this. Next, I'm going to use the coordinating dies. They're again called the greenhouse dies. and I'm going to match them up with my stamped images and add a little washi tape to hold them in place. So this is now ready to run through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I'm going to go ahead and cut out all of these, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cut all those stamped images out. You can see all my little flowers and my stamped plants. So I'm going to just push those off to the side. While I was die cutting, I also cut out all of the leaves from both Mossy Meadow and Pear Pizzazz cardstock. And so I did one of each die, and there are 4 different dies. 2 are kind of like this fern, and then 2 smaller leaf shape. So those are all done as well. And I'm not going to use them all on my card, but it's nice to have in case I want to add some extra in some other places. And then I also cut out my greenhouse. Now there are 2 greenhouse dies. One is just kind of the outline, and it cuts a shape like this. I cut this one out of this wood grain paper from the In Good Taste Designer Series paper pack. It has kind of the white cotton pattern on the background, so it's kind of a light oak pattern. I really love how it kind of gives like a patinaed kind of look, and it gives it some texture as well. So I love that look. And then the solid greenhouse I have cut from some vellum so that it kind of gives that window, kind of a humid look to the greenhouse. And I really like that. So we're going to place those and layer those together. So now that we have cut all our pieces, we're going to create a little bit of a distressed background on this cardstock piece here, the center cardstock piece. And I'm using Balmy Blue cardstock, and so I'm going to use Balmy Blue ink. Now this technique is best done with a little bit of a used ink pad, so not fresh, not recently re-inked. You want it to just not have too much ink on the ink pad. And so what you're going to do is just take your ink pad and drag it along your cardstock in short little bursts, I guess you could say. And what this is going to do is give kind of a textured or worn look to that cardstock. I'm trying to see if you can see that. So we've got some lines coming through it. Here, I'll do another layer so that you can see more. So you can do as many layers of this as you want. And you just can start lightly, and then you can go a little darker once you know if your ink pad has too much ink in it or not enough, that kind of look. So do you start to see that texture that you can add to your cardstock? So I'm liking the way this looks. So I did a couple layers, and that's giving me a nice texture there. So now we're just going to start layering our stamped and our die cut images onto this 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece. So for the larger pieces, I'm going to use some liquid glue. This just is a really quick way of adding pieces to your card. I'm also going to place these low so that these stems will get trimmed off. But you can see how low I've added those plants, and then I'm just going to cut those off. Do the same thing here. This one's going to overlap just a little bit, just to make it look like a nice full field of flowers. So something like that. Then I'm going to take my die cut pieces and I'm going to add these. So I'm going to first start with some in the background, and the reason why I'm doing those first is because my glue is still pretty wet, and so I can lift up some sections and just kind of poke these underneath. All right, so I'm just realizing I also need to add my greenhouse. So I should have done that first probably. So let's put that off to the side. I did cut this out with some adhesive sheet. Just because this is such a delicate die, I added that to the designer series paper, to the back of the paper, and then I ran it through my die cutting machine. And so that's just going to make adding these two pieces together so much easier. I need a little darker color underneath so I can see if they're lining up. Perfect. So just down here at the bottom, I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue because that area is going to get hidden underneath my plants. So I'm just going to carefully lift these up. Because I didn't add too much glue, they should pop up pretty easily. And then I can just tuck that in right on the right side of my card. And then this top part here does not have any vellum, so that will stick down nicely and hold everything in place. If I have any pieces that are still stuck inside, I can use my take a pick to kind of remove those. Okay, so crisis averted, and now we're able to add a couple more plants back here. So I just want to come kind of between these two and just lift that up. Maybe add another little plant in the background. Let's add this one. I think I'm going to have this one kind of tuck underneath here too. It's kind of fun to be able to layer those. Maybe another pear pizzazz in front. And then a couple other over here on the right side. And this one. So like I said earlier, we're not going to use them all, just a couple here and there. That just gives some fun interest to those stamped layers of plants. So let's now trim off the extra pieces that are coming off this main card front. You could use your paper trimmer if you wanted. These are so small, I don't want to like accidentally rip them with my paper trimmer. So I'm just going to use my paper snips. There we go. Now I'm going to add my flowers around the little plants, so that a little pop of color for these. So there is a little white shape here of a flower that matches this shape flower. And so I am going to layer that over it. And I've got two of those. And then just kind of randomly, there's some stems that kind of come up out of the stamped images. And so you can kind of just randomly add a flower to those stems. This one I want in front of that one. So I'm just going to kind of pop it up. So now we've added our flowers. So this card is almost all done. The next thing I want to do is bend down the corner on the left corner here just a little bit. Just adding some extra texture to my card. And then I'm going to create this little peekaboo with some vellum. And this piece here is from the Layering Vellum Designs pack. And it comes in both white and black, and there's different designs that you can use. And what I'm going to do is just, I've cut a small piece, and I'm just going to add it to the back here. You can kind of tell if it's going the right way. So So I want to make sure that the letters at least look right. And then you just slide it right in to that corner that you have distressed. And you just want those edges to match. Just like that. If you want to add maybe a glue dot or something to hold it down, you can. So you'll get something that looks like this. Then the last thing I need to do is add my greeting. And I'm going to use a Friendship Nurtured in Love Blooms Forever. And this greeting also comes from the Garden Greenhouse stamp set. And I'm just going to stamp it in Memento black ink in this corner right here. So it's really nice that it's a photopolymer stamp, so you can kind of see if it's stamping straight. So the very last thing we're going to do is add everything to our card base, and it is a card base of a balmy blue as well. And that just goes right in the center of your card base. I did want to add a couple fun embellishments. I love the iridescent rhinestone basic jewels. And so I'm using these around my card today. Maybe a large one up by the greeting with one of the smaller ones. And then just kind of randomly add some here and there amongst the blooms and flowers and things. Just a really fun card. And it's all done. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me create this fun card for the Fancy Friday Challenge group in March 2022. If you're interested in seeing close-up images or getting written instructions on how to create this card, you can visit my blog, creativechelsea.com. If you'd like to purchase any of the products you've seen me use today, please use the link to my online store in the description below. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye.